Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins with a drug cartel leader's plane landing at a private airport, and he is escorted to his residence by a large group of armed guards. The cartel lord slips into his swimwear, and enters his private pool for a swim. He discovers his watch at the bottom of the pool, and dives down to recover it. An unknown stranger seizes the cartel lord, and holds him underwater, till he dies. The killer, Arthur Bishop, then takes advantage of the pandemonium that ensues, to take a careful route out of the mansion, and to a nearby river, where he jumps in and flees. Bishop is an elite assassin with a rigid code, and a unique aptitude for eliminating targets in a professional and flawless manner. He is extremely detail-oriented, and his experience gained over the years enables him to complete missions flawlessly. Back at home, Bishop talks with Harry McKenna, his lone buddy and mentor figure. Harry, a prominent businessman, is also a frequent client of Bishop's. Therefore, over the years, the two have become friends. They discuss Harry's son, Steve, and he communicates his dissatisfaction with his son to Bishop. Some time later, they separate ways, after Harry compensates Bishop for his job in Colombia. Later, when the protagonist returns home, he checks on his new contract, only to discover that it is to kill Harry, his friend. He calls his boss to confirm that the contract is correct. He requests a face-to-face meeting, after receiving confirmation. His meeting is approved, and a private jet is dispatched to meet him. When he arrives, Bishop meets with Dean, Harry's business partner. Dean tells Bishop of a failed mission, 6 months ago in South Africa, where they had their largest contract ever, but 6 of their agency's assassins were slain. Dean informs him only Dean and Harry are aware of the mission, and Harry has received a large sum of money in exchange for the contract specifics. Bishop requests to speak with Dean and resolve the issue, without killing anyone. However, Dean insists he be killed as quickly as possible. Dean informs Bishop that he has 48 hours to finish the job, or he will hire someone else. Bishop is certain that Harry is guilty of the charges against him, however he wants to talk to him first. Later, when alone, Bishop calls Harry, and tricks him into leaving the building and going down to the lower level of the parking lot, where he finds Bishop ready to kill him. Harry smiles at being tricked, but is not at all outraged. Bishop states he does not want to kill him, and they can escape together. However, Harry says that would not make sense, as Dean would hire other killers to kill them. After this, Harry pulls out his ancient gun, which he had never used before. Harry hands it to Bishop, and urges him to use it to kill him. Bishop fires several shots and kills him. After that, Bishop stages a carjacking, and leaves the scene. At Harry's funeral, Bishop meets Harry's son, Steve, and drives him to his father's house. While they are still in the house, Steve informs Bishop that he is going to find a carjacker and kill him in retaliation. Bishop inquires whether it will make him feel better. He responds that he will find out. Later, as retaliation, Steve goes out on the streets to find a carjacker. He is waiting inside his car for a thief attempting to steal it. When a stranger arrives and tries to steal his car, Steve starts beating him to pulp. Bishop had surreptitiously followed Steve, and stops him from murdering the carjacker. The next day, Steve follows Bishop, and requests that he train him to become a killer, but Bishop denies it, and instructs him to return home. However, Bishop feels guilty for killing his father. He also realizes that if he does not help Steve, he will most likely ruin his life into alcohol and other things. Next day, Bishop calls Steve, and agrees to train him as an assassin. They meet and decide to adopt a puppy. Bishop hands over the dog to him, and instructs him on how to care for it, and tells him to take the dog to a specific coffee shop every day. Simultaneously, Bishop begins training him. He is extremely eager to learn, and wishes to know everything Bishop knows. Soon, Bishop intensifies his training with Steve, putting him on a contract to show him what it's like. After strangling the man with a belt, and staging it to look like an autoerotic asphyxiation accident, Bishop shows Steve all the preparation that went into the assassination. He also reveals that the person they had just slain was a global arms dealer, who could sell guns to anyone. He then shows him a contract on which he is working at the moment. The target is a man at the coffee shop, where Steve has been coming for the past 3 weeks. Bishop tells Steve that the target is an assassin for another agency, named Burke. Furthermore, Steve is informed that Burke's only flaws are his fondness for young men and small dogs, such as the dog they adopted. One day, Burke approaches Steve, and invites him out for drinks. Bishop instructs Steve to put a heavy amount of rohypnol in Burke's drink, in order to produce an overdose. However, Steve doesn't want to do it the easy way, and disregards this instruction. After that, he convinces Burke to go to his place. Later at night, as Burke takes his clothes off, Steve tries to choke him with a belt. However, Burke is a huge man, and Steve is unable to choke him, so they get into a fight. After a long fight, Steve manages to kill Burke, but gets severely injured. Even if the job is done, Bishop is upset, since it was supposed to be a clean job. Dean later contacts Bishop, and expresses his displeasure with the use of Steve for the Burke contract. Bishop responds that the contract was delivered to him through Harry, not Dean. At this point, Dean inquires as to whether Steve is aware that Bishop is the one who murdered his father. Enraged by Bishop's anger, Dean informs him that he's on a short leash. Some time later, a new contract is handed to Bishop. Now he has to assassinate Andrew, the leader of a cult-like church. To do a neat job, Steve and Bishop plan to administer adrenaline to Andrew, to simulate a heart attack, for which the paramedics will unknowingly administer a second fatal dose of adrenaline. As they wander the walls of Andrew's hotel room, they begin to prepare for their mission. Shortly thereafter, a doctor arrives, who frequently administers different types of drugs to Andrew, who orders to be provided something unique this time. Recognizing that the adrenaline overdose will be suppressed by this doctor's dose, they must act quickly, and kill him in a different way. After the administration, the doctor receives a phone call, and is forced to leave, leaving Andrew alone in the room. Bishop and Steve now have a chance to kill him. They quickly come out of the wall, suffocate him, and hide in the wall again. When Andrew's men find him dead, they initially think he died of an overdose, as he often took such drugs. However, security guards carefully check the room, just in case. Bishop and Steve are discovered soon, and are forced into a shootout with the guards. They manage to evade the guards and exit the building, as it is being evacuated. Bishop states they must return home separately. While at the airport, Bishop sees one of the killers he was told had been killed during the mission in South Africa. He decides to follow and find out why he faked his death. During his confrontation with the man, Bishop realizes that his boss Dean tricked him into killing Harry. Dean had orchestrated the failed South African operation, to hide his own dirty dealings. Now that he knows the truth, the other killer tries to kill Bishop. The two fight a violent struggle, but Bishop succeeds with some difficulty. Being tricked, he begins to put everything back in order, and decides to take revenge on Dean. On his way home, he is ambushed by some assassins, but manages to eliminate them all. He then uses one of their phones to figure out who is behind it all. He calls a number on the phone, and discovers that Dean has hired all these killers to kill him. He returns home in a hurry, and calls Steve, only to find out he too was ambushed. Steve asks him to come back, but Bishop realizes Steve is surrounded by killers, so he points Steve to a gun hidden under the couch he is sitting on. After breaking off the call, Steve grabs his gun, and kills the three killers surrounding him. After Bishop arrives, he orders Steve to prepare materials for their new mission, and tries to find a way to reach Dean. As Steve prepares things, he discovers his father's gun. At this point, he realizes that the man who killed his father is actually Bishop, and not a car thief. Meanwhile, Bishop has already left, and visits the home of a man who has worked faithfully for Dean for many years. He asks where Dean is, but the man refuses to speak, even when Bishop grabs his daughter. Bishop threatens to put her in the garbage disposal. Frightened, the man finally reveals Dean's location. Next, Bishop and Steve meet and go to the address they have just received. When Dean discovers that Bishop has already entered the building, he gathers all his security guards around him, and leaves. However, Bishop and Steve were waiting for him outside, and as soon as he goes outside in his car, the two start shooting at him. Dean's car overturns, with him coming out badly wounded. They then proceed to kill him for good. Next, while they are in the car, Steve asks Bishop what the next step will be. He replies, in their position, they now have to change their name, and find another place to live. Some time later, they decide to stop at a gas station. On the way, Bishop notices that Steve has found Harry's gun, and has brought it with him. Bishop knows that he has found out the truth about his father's killing, and now has to be very careful. After they arrive at the gas station, Steve asks Bishop if he needs anything. He replies he is fine, and Steve goes out to get gas. Steve adjusts the tank nozzle, so that it runs on the ground under the car. He then drives away, pulls Harry's gun, and fires the gas, blowing up Bishop's vehicle in the gas station. Steve then returns to Bishop's house, and listens to a recording on the record player, before going out to the garage and stealing Bishop's vintage 1966 Jaguar E-Type coupe. As he drives away, he discovers a note on the car seat, informing that he is dead if he is reading this. He chuckles, and the car explodes moments later, killing him. At the same time, the record player at the house finishes playing, and activates an electrical wire, causing Bishop's house to catch fire. At the gas station, a security camera shows Bishop fleeing the car, just before Steve blew it up. Eventually, Bishop drives away in another car he had prepared on the shore. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.